The 2020 Women's March will be held this weekend in Washington, D.C., the fourth since President Trump took office. Joining me now is Issa Noyola. She's a board member of Women's March. Thank you very much for being here. And let's start with this particular year. Here we are on the eve of another election. How does that, President Trump being up for re-election, influence this rally that's going to take place tomorrow?
I mean, for sure, I think people are going to show up at the march tomorrow with so much zeal. That's at the forefront of everyone's mind. And also, I mean, I think a lot of the issues that we're bringing forth, like immigrant rights, climate justice, reproductive justice, are issues that women have been contending with and dealing with and been impacted with for many, many years. And so tomorrow is just another demonstration of power. Tomorrow is a demonstration of the leadership of our women. And, I think this election is important, but we also know that, there's so many issues that our women are impacted with, that will be impacted with even after the election.
I want to ask you about the ones that you mentioned just a moment ago, climate justice, immigrant justice, reproductive justice. Why did the organization choose those issues for 2020?
We surveyed and polled women from across the country, and these issues rose to the top. It's not necessarily to say that those are the only issues, but those three issues people have experienced, people have been listening and paying attention to what's happening at the border, inside detention centers, of how asylees and trans women and children have been tortured inside cages. People have been seeing the devastation of just what's happening globally, right? From Australia to California to so much devastation that is happening across the world. And then also just the attempts from this administration to curtail, reproductive rights across various states, and so I think all of these things have really impacted our women across the country, and it's cut across class or race. And, I think for us, it's an important moment to really think about feminism in this intersectional way, and how, what is a feminist lens in the immigrant rights movement? What is a feminist lens in the LGBT movement? What is a feminist lens in climate justice? And so I think those issues are really important to all of us.
We have fixed in our heads images of that march back in 2017, and this one is going to look different. It's going to be different. There aren't going to be celebrity speakers, for instance. How will it look and be different than these past ones have been?
The Women's March is prioritizing our people. We're having hundreds of buses join us from across the country tomorrow, and those are the women who want to have their voices heard. They want to join in a demonstration of the willing of powerful women who are really concerned and have been impacted by all of these issues. And so we're making more space for that. We're making space for those voices to be heard, and prioritizing, the folks that have really put so much into this march, not just here in D.C., but all of the sister marches that will be happening across the country, and so that is, to us, that's the most important voice to lift up in this moment, those directly impacted by all of this violence and all of this discrimination.
The specter of President Trump looms large over this. That first march started as a result of the election in 2016. How do you think about him as you look ahead to this march tomorrow? There are all of these issues, the intersectionality that you described just a moment ago. What role does the president play in terms of galvanizing people to come to this event, and how they think about these other issues in the context or without the context of the president?
The president for sure is a galvanizing target that women have for sure made clear that he is someone that is against us. He is someone that is against our rights. He is someone that is adamantly, and just, all out, no holds barred, sort of against sort of feminist values and the values that our communities hold, right? And so I think intersectional values. And so, but that is one part of what is bringing out sort of us out tomorrow, and will continue to bring us out throughout the rest of the year, right? It is not just President Trump. It's not just this administration. It is the systemic oppression that our communities are facing every single day, and the ways that we are surveilled, the ways that we are criminalized, the ways that we are discriminated against. There's so many issues that our women across the country are facing. And so we are coming together, and tomorrow is just one offering, one opportunity where women will come to join forces to build relationships, to network, to build power. There will be many offerings this year that the Women's March and so many other feminist organizations will have to continue to build that power.
Last question here, just about the organization itself. You are new to it, new in this leadership role. How does the organizational structure look different than it did in 2016?
Our organizational structure still remains. We have a brand new board, but we have a powerful and amazing staff. We have amazing volunteers who are putting so much of their heart, so much of their time. A lot of this work to put on these marches, a lot of it is thankless. A lot of it doesn't get recognized. A lot of folks put so much time and effort to make calls, to volunteer, to hand out water, to make sure folks are safe throughout the marches. And so the Women's March organization is a brand new organization. We have a vision and commitment to not just that is focused on this election. Yes, I think that's one of our priorities, but for sure for years to come, because these issues are not going away anytime soon. And our struggle and the Women's March organization is just a part of a larger legacy and lineage of resistance in this country and even globally that we're connected to.
On the eve of the Women's March, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.